Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake talking to you, and this here is Friday Peace Talks. Hello! Well, it's way Apple Ways worse than we thought. Oh, wait, it wasn't Apple Ways. It was Apple Maps. Who did Waze? Anyway, it's worse than we thought. 37. Should have pulled a clerk's clip. We're going to get back to that. It's 37 counts with just evidence that is a gun billowing smoke. You could send signals across the country with the amount of smoke coming out of that gun that they have in evidence. Pictures. If you don't know what we're talking about, how? But okay. Donald Trump has been indicted for obstruction of justice and withholding information that belonged to you and me, not him. He's had his crime photographed. His apparent crime photographed. This guy has there's pictures of boxes of documents stacked up in the bathroom, stacked up in areas that the public could conceivably get to. You'll note that he obsessed over the fact that Joe Biden didn't have great security on the documents he had. Interesting. I wonder why he was so obsessed with that. Oh, is it because he had boxes just stacked up in a bathroom at Mar-a-Lago? Okay. There's a recording of Trump acknowledging that he did not have the ability to show the classified documents to folks. As he was showing, apparently he said on the recording he was doing this, narrating his crimes, as he said, here are some classified documents that I'm not legally allowed to show you. I mean, folks, at some point, we're going to have to sit down with MAGA followers. And if you are still an adherent of the MAGA philosophy of politics, welcome, first of all. And congratulations for having the chutzpah to show up to a stream run by a lefty and largely populated by lefties. Not entirely, but largely. We're going to be nice today. And here's the rules of Friday Peace Talks. No insults. We don't want to bust walls in any form. If you've shown up, we're going to respect that. And we ask you to do the same for inviting you. If somebody asks you a question, answer it directly. Don't gish gavel. Don't what about. Answer it directly. And most important to the Friday Peace Talk, say hi to folks that show up. Trying to make it friendly. GD, would you believe it's possible that we can still be pals? It's why it's your old pal Jake hosting this thing and not Jake, Lord of Skulls. So, let's dive into some of this stuff because I'm just, I'm just anxious to see it. I should probably record before I give the intro to this segment. You know what? How about I say hi first? Wireless mic, hello. Dawned on me, hello. Here's the deal, she says. Trump only likes picture books. Oh, I just right-clicked. Trump only likes picture books. What a traitor. Oof. Looked like somebody rummaged through one of those boxes in a hurry, says Wireless Mike. Yeah. Just want to toss this out there. Float it out there, see what y'all think. there was a Chinese national that glad wireless Mike liked that Lotus Skulls bit. Yeah, Mars Falcon saying storing them in the John works in if nobody needs to excrete biologics. Somebody should have shared the fundamental children's wisdom tome, Everybody Poops. Could have spared Cittadini a charge or two. Oh. Well, yeah, that's the thing. There was a Chinese national, as in somebody who was a citizen of China, is my understanding, who showed up at Mar-a-Lago, talked her way in, because she was smooth, and had a thumb drive on her, and that thumb drive had malware. Can't say she's a spy, because she was put in American courts, and we were unable to prove any sort of connection with Chinese intelligence. We let her go. But it's awful concerning. And when I say we let her go, I mean we told her she had to leave and could not come back to the United States of America. So, we have a serious national security problem now, in my humble opinion. And it is, at the very least, we can say that now it is being attended to. But I mean, attended to in the kind of sense where a loved one is in the hospital being attended to, and you're having discussions about what kind of life they'll be able to lead if they survive. Patrick Thibodeau. My favorite thing is the chandelier in the bathroom and the boxes blocking the shower. Yeah. I mean, not exactly a skiff, huh? All right. I would very much like. We're gonna. Let's get the basics down. Now, this clip that we're going to show you is primarily made up of just Jack Smith's announcement. We could see Jack Smith's announcement all sorts of places, but Wicked Foxy Dragon has suggested that we view it through the lens of another channel that's getting their start. And I got a couple of things. It's catnip to your old pal Jake, and one of them is arguing. Another one's insults to me. I enjoy those deeply. I don't know why, but I find them very funny. Mostly because I tend to agree with them. And the third is promoting other channels that I think are of value, and this is one. So we're going to look at it through that channel. Got a recommendation from Wicked Foxy Dragon here. Let's have a gander. This is from the YouTube channel Tabitha Speaks Politics. And she helpfully clipped out the special counsel Jack Smith announcement today. You'll note that he's been pretty tight-lipped, so the idea that he's suddenly talking, it means it's something we ought to listen to. The person who gave the intro and the outro, I'm just going to let her go. We're just going to do that. Because it's Tabitha Speaks Politics, and she is a very funny lady, and she's wearing Mickey Mouse ears. And so she's won my heart over. Let's look at the piece she did on this. Mostly it's because, in case you missed it, as she says, I'd like you guys to hear from the other horse's mouth what's going on with the documents case. Let's get the basics, the facts laid out on the table. Short clip, here we go.
If you blinked too fast, you missed the speech that Jack Smith gave. He ain't sugarcoat nothing. He said what he had to say, and he was out. And the impression that he left me was that he ain't playing with Donald Trump. He ain't got time for the games. He said, you got the right one. I got the speech. Let's watch it.
Good afternoon. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with felony violations of our national security laws, as well as participating in a conspiracy to obstruct justice. This indictment was voted by a grand jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida, and I invite everyone to read it in full to understand the scope and the gravity of the crimes charged. The men and women of the United States intelligence community and our armed forces dedicate their lives to protecting our nation and its people. Our laws that protect national defense information are critical for the safety and security of the United States, and they must be enforced. Violations of those laws put our country at risk. Adherence to the rule of law is a bedrock principle of the Department of Justice, and our nation's commitment to the rule of law sets an example for the world. We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone. Applying those laws, collecting facts, that's what determines the outcome of an investigation. Nothing more and nothing less. The prosecutors in my office are among the most talented and experienced in the Department of Justice. They have investigated this case hewing to the highest ethical standards, and they will continue to do so as this case proceeds. It's very important for me to note that the defendants in this case must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. To that end, my office will seek a speedy trial in this matter, consistent with the public interest and the rights of the accused. We very much...
Real quick. Just real quick. I am glad that of the few things Jack Smith has said, one of them is that they're going to do this thing quick. He's a good egg.
Look forward to presenting our case to a jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida.
And at that point, he picked up his portfolio and he walked out the room. Ladies, I don't know about y'all, but Jack Smith, he was giving me Big D energy.
Ha!
Failed.
Oh, just delightful. Just delightful, I swear. Okay, so, what on earth have I done? The long and the short of it. Exactly what we thought. Straightforward. No mystery. That first of all compliments to to Tabitha Speaks Politics. That press conference was a classic press conference, by which I mean there was about 11 minutes of an empty podium and reporters chit-chatting, followed by 2 minutes of Jack Smith speaking, and then he left. Oh, wow. Nice to return to the old days. So we're gonna discuss amongst the wicked community in a moment. I'm just gonna toss down my thoughts here ever so quickly. Again, thank you to Tabitha Speaks Politics for clipping that. The charges are incredibly serious. It's one of those things where if when you hear them, you don't get a little chill up your spine, it's probably because the tone it's being said in is very calm. But allow me to, calmly as I can, add, we had a serious national security threat in this. I don't know if he sold the documents. I saw evidence today to suggest that he might not have. He might have just been so irresponsible with them that he earned himself these charges. I don't think if he did sell them, I don't think the government knows it yet. But we have reason to believe that we're in a lot of trouble. Even if it should be that Donald Trump did not knowingly turn over information to foreign governments. Again, I normally don't care if it's a foreign government or my country's government that we're talking about, unless it involves something that one of these governments was relying upon being kept secret. You know, things like deals we have been making, plans of attack that we have been planning, where our spies are. Because whether or not I agree with whether or not we should be attacking people, or whether or not I agree with all right, let's try this again. Whether or not we should be attacking people or spying on people, etc., etc. Lives, actual lives, I mean, we are, and so lives depend on us keeping these secrets. And these secrets, for a long time, in my opinion, because of Merrick Garland's timid hesitance to bother a wealthy or a powerful person, these documents were kept in a very unsecure location where people from other countries were invited to and, in fact, had cover for being at. It's unlikely that we're ever going to know the full extent of how badly this compromised security for folks. But I have to assume that the U.S. has had to change a lot of its plans based on no longer being able to rely on the secrecy of top-level information. And that is scary. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. I want to get to it. Dawned on me, months ago, there was an interview with Kid Rock, and he was talking about maps Trump was showing him. Kid freaking Rock. Oh, my God. Wireless Mike, people like Mohammed Bonesaw. I bet the Saudis have had an eyeful of all of this. Mars Falcon, the documents belong to the National Archives. That is crystal clear law. Doesn't matter if it was the last Tuesday lunch menu of his presidency. They were not his property. Crystal clear law. Yes. 100%. Oh, I need to clear this. I'm going to switch this to live chat. How about that? Okay. If the defense lawyers dawned on me, if the defense lawyers don't want don't want quick, guess what? It can be years. It can be, but it's not entirely up to them. They can make requests. Those requests can be denied. Dawned on Me says, hopefully Eileen Cannon gets booted off pretty quickly. Yeah, folks, there is... I'm just going to... You know what? How about this? I'm going to make it a long night, but I think it'll be worth it. I'm just going to start recording Meow. Yeah, folks, if you didn't hear it, Judge Eileen Cannon, one of 15 judges that could have been assigned to this? Yeah, she drew the short straw. So she can be, or right now, she is the assigned judge in this case. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because she was the judge appointed by Trump that really showed a lack of ethics when she took cases she had no business with and ruled blatantly in favor of Trump in a nonsensical ruling, and we should be concerned that she would have anything to do with this case. But the reality is, first of all, there are methods for in Florida. There's methods for removing a judge and replacing them, which Eileen Cannon qualifies for. She was appointed by Trump, and she has already demonstrated. She's recently demonstrated that she can't be trusted in a Trump-related case. But also, what can she do? What could any judge do with any of this information? This is mountains and mountains of information. This is a fire hose of evidence. On top of that, Trump's lawyers quit today. Which ones quit? I don't recall their names, but I am only interested in the fact that he had a bunch of diehard attorneys for him that are abandoning ship. I actually, my family background has given me some insight into this. Not the news. I got a bunch of attorneys in my family, and their complaints at the dinner table were so often this knowing laugh and then jokes about how your clients lie to you. They lie to you. Why would your clients lie to you? Because a lawyer can't knowingly lie to the court. So if you're a defendant and you would rather be in court for your story than for the facts, your lawyer's job is to present the facts in the best possible light. But if you would rather stick with a lie, you tell that to the lawyer. And the lawyer then tries to operate off of that. I don't recommend you do that. Don't lie to your attorney. That's like lying to your doctor. It does not help you. If you're at the point where you're in a court of law, most likely, folks, it's time to come to Jesus. Tell the truth. A, because it's a separate crime all its own to lie in a court of law. And B, because nobody is as smart as they think they are. Nobody is as sneaky as they think they are. And this is a chunk of the American government whose specialty is in dealing with bullshit. And judges and lawyers and cops and detectives and prosecutors of all stripes see it every day. They are veterans at silly little lies. And most likely, if you're in court, you're new to it. So what do I think happened? I think Trump has been telling his attorneys X, Y, and Z. It turns out now it was A, B, and C. And the attorneys are using this newest development to say, well, we gotta go. This is normal. Don't anybody look at this too closely. But he lied. He lied. I also think that's why Boris Epstein is the guy for Trump. I think that's the person who went to Trump and said, you can lie to me and I'll lie for you. And I think he's the only one that said that. I think all the others were willing to say, I'll be lawful evil, but not chaotic evil. And Epstein, if I were Trump, and I was trying to do Trump's strategy, first of all, if I were Trump, I would do the decent thing and walk out into the ocean. But assuming that I didn't, what I would do instead is I would get somebody who knows the law to orchestrate properly the folks that are going to follow the law. So I would get somebody who knows the law and is willing to break it to orchestrate those who know the law who aren't willing to break it. And I would make him the leader. And the fact that he isn't an expert in the things they're talking about, that's fine, because he's an expert in knowing what Trump actually did. So my big theory here is just that Boris is the guy who's knowingly helping facilitate crimes. I also think that as of now, that's irrelevant. I think now Trump, because of all of this evidence and because it's so abundantly clear, I think now Trump is going to be able to hire a serious shark who can try to twist this. But I'll tell you, I don't see how you argue any of this. The guy's on tape talking pretty blatantly about what he did. So, folks, this case is going to be fun as hell to watch if you don't like Trump, and probably if you like Trump, pretty enlightening to see. And my question for folks that do like Trump is, as you're watching this evidence unfold, does it match up with what he told you? And if he did lie to his lawyers, do you think he wouldn't lie to you? Oh, we scroll up. Here's the thing. The chat window is open on my computer here, and I hate it. I don't want emojis. Put away the emojis, please. I beg you. Oh, I want to see the chat, but not type in it. How about pop-out chat? How's that? That's better. All right. Dawned on me. Jake, that's the problem. We don't think evil and Trump does. Yes. Yep. Mars Falcon. Combining sharks and twisters is dangerous. Haven't you seen the documentary Sharknado 3? Okay, well, that's good advice. It's good to know. Let's go up a little bit. Stuart Brooks, do you think Trump will roll the dice and request a bench trial / trial by judge, hoping for a gift from Eileen? I don't think he will be allowed to keep Eileen Cannon as a judge. I think prosecutors are pretty much immediately going to ask for a different judge, and I think they will be granted that. Ooh. Okay, we're gonna do a piece from Patrick Thibodeau here. Let me get this started. And as I'm setting this up, the reason I think it's going to be not Eileen Cannon, even though she was drawn, is because prosecutors have a right to request a different judge, and they have pretty indisputable reasons as to why they would want to, and that is given the previous treatment of Trump by Eileen Cannon in a ruling that she got just ripped to shreds for very, very recently by other judges. So it makes sense to me that their request will be granted. Patrick Thibodeau recommended this clip. It is from our friends over at, is it the Damage Report or TYT? I know they are related. Anyway, it's John Iadarola talking about, surprise, surprise, the Trump indictments. But man, I'm telling you, I want to marathon this. I want to just do lines of Trump indictments right now, because this is something that's been boiling behind the scenes, and I think no matter which side of the political aisle you fall on, you ought to be interested in whether or not our national security was compromised by this guy. Or if you're just convinced that he didn't do nothing wrong, you should see why so many people think he has done something wrong. And I'll tell you, one way or another, now we are going to find out in a court of law. So let's have a look.
We now know a lot more about that tape that was alleged to have existed just a week or two ago, wherein back in the middle of 2022, after Trump was no longer president, he was taped talking about and potentially showing a classified document that has to do with apparently plans to invade Iran. Super, super serious stuff, and also really bad for Donald Trump because it was clear in what was alleged to have been contained in that tape that he knew that the document was still classified, that he could not declassify things at that point, that he had missed his opportunity to declassify it, and that he was super excited to be showing it off to people. Well, now we know more about what happened, and I wanted to screenshot, like I took from this tweet, the screenshot of an article about this because it's just so amazing. You have to see it in its raw form. So he says at one point, all sorts of stuff, pages long. Look, wait a minute, let's see here. I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. Someone said if this was like in a script for a Mel Brooks movie, he would have revised it because it's too over the top. That was him holding invasion plans to invade Iran and saying, this is like the most confident. Hey, look at this. Look at how amazing and
Come on. I mean, we don't get them often, but we get them sometimes. Do we have a Trump supporter in the audience? I genuinely want to hear. I mean, what do you think of this? What do you think of this behavior? Do you think it's okay for a former president to be waving around these documents? Really, truly, do you really? Do you think it is okay for a former president to tell the government over and over he doesn't have any? At the same time, he's given interviews like this where he's saying, I got these things. Let's just take the nicest version of this. Let's say that he was lying to the Mark Meadows biographer and telling them that he had classified documents when he didn't really, and telling them that he's not allowed to show them these things, when in fact that he had mentally declassified. And it turns out that everybody else involved with the writing and execution of the law somehow misread it, and this guy did have the ability to mentally declassify with a wink. Even then, do you think it's cool that this guy was making a mockery of these things? Clearly not taking people's lives seriously? Not taking America's security seriously? Trying to impress some news person by saying, "Look, we're breaking the law together now." I don't. I really don't, and I'm really disappointed that anybody does. But I'll tell you, based on the overwhelming amount of evidence, it seems to me like Trump was waving around classified documents. And again, the illegal thing is not that they were. I'm sure the illegal thing is that they were classified. But the matter at hand here is that they weren't his. They were not his. And I bet that reporter didn't have security clearance. And I'll tell you, Trump shouldn't have security clearance ever, 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 ever again. And it is a permanent shame to all of us that he ever did.
Confidential this is. I mean, that is ridiculous. He goes on to say, secret, this is secret information. Look at this. This was done by the military and given to me. As president, I could have declassified, but now I can't. These are all on the transcript for the call. It's like he's trying to do their job for them, Brett.
He's just so dumb.
He's the
and
dumbest
that's it. It's
person.
like the weird gaslighting of the nation that's being done by the entirety of Fox News is to get you to look at stuff like this and try to convince you that he's not just the worst, that this guy shouldn't run his family business, which he's bankrupted multiple times, let alone the nation. And like the only way, these people who are so anti-government, the only way for the government to stay run as a functioning entity is to take a larger role than they otherwise would had there been an actual strong executive to tell them what to do. They, like T cells in the body, these things that have that frequently they're horrible. And I agree that there's many parts of the government that suck a ton, but even the horrible ones are just like, I have to be more powerful than I otherwise would be by keeping the president away from this stuff. Not because I'm ashamed of what he'll do with the how he'll take advantage and enact these invasions or anything like that, but just because he's irresponsible with the basicest of information.
Yeah, look, and it's a reminder. I don't know what all 5 of those documents that we believe might be involved in the charges. I don't even know if the one in the tape is one of the 5, if there are 5. But this is getting to seriousness. It is possible that he could have stolen some classified documents, and it would technically be against the law, but there wouldn't be much of a reason for regular people to care. That's possible. I know that I'm supposed to have Trump derangement syndrome, but I could totally.
That last part, I do feel like we should address a little bit. Last fellow was talking about the I don't know. This is a segment with 3 honkies that look identical, but the last fellow was talking about how people in the government had to took on larger roles than actually they had a right to, and I'll tell you. I go more and more lawful every day, but I do still align in my heart with that D&D scale chaotic good. I do think sometimes you gotta do what's right over what's written, and yeah, that happened. There's multiple examples of that happening where folks in the U.S. government overstep their bounds in order to keep the president from making an ass of himself and getting people killed in the process. We can't be in that position. It happened with Nixon too. He was drinking himself to death in the last days of Watergate. He was deeply depressed, thoroughly drunk, and talking crazy, and they had to have a serious talk wherein the military, where they just agreed they wouldn't let Nixon nuke anybody. So U.S. president couldn't be trusted to make that decision anymore. Same thing, literally the same thing happened with Trump. There was a discussion, I think it was Milley, who brought people together and did the Nixon thing and said, you will not follow a direct order from the president unless I have heard about it and I have agreed to it. We can't keep being in this position, and we get put in this position with Republicans over and over and over again. Republican politicians end up the ones who we have to have these kinds of conversations about. What does that tell you about their character? Their lack of character, frankly. Can't keep doing it, folks. Whatever lessons you got to learn them. Don't put these people in these positions anymore. They don't deserve it. They are, in other words, undeserving.
By that. But some of this seems dangerous. And by the way, I don't believe what I consider to be the most far out version of this. I don't, without evidence, believe that he's selling the documents or whatever. I believe he just really wanted to have them, and he thought, screw the government. I don't care if it's illegal. I want to have them. But this is really important stuff. I would assume that in invasion plans, some pretty critical information about our military would be contained there. And I don't think you should be waving that around to people who just paid like
at admission fee to whatever. Yeah, I agree. It keeps happening, folks. Now, it's Friday Peace Talk, so I'm not going to rattle off insults against Donald Trump if I can help it. Certainly, if you're in the audience and you got some thoughts in favor of him, don't worry. I'm not going to come after you personally, but I'll tell you the things I've said about Trump that you might feel angered by. Those aren't insults. Those are a statement of facts. He has shown time and time again that he's simply not worthy of the position of trust he was put in. And frankly, you should have known that. You should have known that in 2015. And it's understandable that you didn't, because you were in a most likely a media echo chamber that put a lot of money and effort into making sure that you only saw the best of him, and then the best interpretation of that, or at the very least the best interpretation of the things that you were going to be confronted with. By 2020, there really isn't an excuse. By 2020, if you were still supporting this guy, to some degree, I think you must admit you chose to look away from the facts. You chose to ignore reality. And enough of you did it that we have to be forgiving on the other side, because we got to work with you to find out why. The really dangerous thing to me is that we don't know why. I have some theories. I'd rather hear it from you. Why did you choose? Why did you choose to ignore the danger? What convinced you that what you were doing was for the greater good, or did you even think it was for the greater good? Did you instead maybe think it's not for the greater good, but this will benefit me personally? And if so, why? Because when we point out Candace Owens and we say, she's betraying black folks when she sides with the people that are trying to harm black folks, and when we point out, oh gosh, Dave Rubin, and saying he's betraying gay folks by siding with the people and lying for the people that are hunting gay folks. Point of that is not to say that the Republican Party is good for white folks. Guess what? Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, they're betraying white folks as well, because they're siding with the people that are hurting white folks. They're siding with the people that prey upon white folks. And here's the real secret. All of them are siding with the people that are hurting everybody. They are hurting black folks. They are hurting gay folks. They are hurting white folks. They are hurting everybody who's not rich. And the really wild thing is, ultimately, unless you're a billionaire who's planning on dying in the next 10 years, it's everybody. We are choosing a big chunk of us are choosing to just hurt everybody. This very week, New York looked like a post-apocalyptic hellscape. So we got to figure out why, and I'd love it if you could tell me. Let's look at the comments. Dawned on me to speak for MAGA family. They voted for him because he validated the hate they have for minorities. Yeah. That's it. That's all they want. Sad, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Cortez Crimson. Does Dave Rubin still have a platform since the right are just flat out saying they hate the LGBTQ plus community? I would hope not. I have no idea. I didn't understand who his core base was, like who his viewers were, like even 3 years ago. I didn't get it. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I didn't get it because they were basically Nazis. That's an insult. They were. Nah, I mean, it's pretty accurate, though. They were basically on their hate campaign then as well, so I'm not sure. Yeah, dawned on me, by 2020, 74 million people voted for the orange clown. Yeah. That's a concern. That's a massive concern. Go back up. Mars Falcon, I say we shroud him with every gold medal of criminality and set him free. Mid-Atlantic, Stuart Brooks. Stuart Brooks, a perverted part of me wants to see him win the Republican presidential nomination so the Republican Party can be stuck with this albatross for history. Yeah, I hear you. To some degree, yes. I feel what you're saying, and the selfish part of me that I can use to fight that desire is that's what I wanted in 2015 too. I was delighted when he won. I couldn't believe it. Oh my God! I gotta find out who gave me the super chat. Looks like we have a $5 super chat, and I missed it. Oh, there we go. No, I didn't. All right, we'll look at that next. But there is an optimism in me which will not die, and that optimism says that we can reach these folks. Not all, sure. Some of the 74 million people, they're gone. But not all, and I suspect not most. I think, like that mouse utopia experiment, I think we have a lot of people showing some real ugly behavior because they are in real ugly circumstances and they don't know what to do. And they're flailing and biting and causing harm to others to relieve the feelings of stress that have cropped up in the society that we've built. And I think there's a comforting familiarity for them in racism. Like going back to an old drug when you're down and out, the one you're familiar with. I think that's what that is. But I think they can be reached, and I would like to see that they have been reached in 2024. I would like a different person to win the nomination, and if it's DeSantis, that's just going to break my heart because it's no different. It will show that we have learned nothing. If it's somebody like Chris Christie, that's much better. He's still a bad person, and I don't think he will be able to survive in the modern era of politics where people follow this. Mercifully, a lot of people have made a habit of watching political analysts. And the fact that a lot of young folks get into this, man, that's the best. That's the best. That means we will have the rest of their lives with an informed populace, and these lies don't stand up to that. Scott Ward with the $5 super chat. First of all, thank you so much. I'll tell you what, that is super cool, and I appreciate it. He says we must assume the worst case scenario. Trump has blinded our intelligence gathering. The enemy will strike all our assets at once. Yeah, if they want to hurt us. I'll tell you what, I have a different opinion here, and it's unfortunately, I think, even worse, which is the folks that know who won't let us know that they know. It's one thing to know where all our battleships are and wipe them all off immediately. And if you're playing Battleship, if you're at war, okay, that's a good strategy. But with the information they could have, it could have long-term value to just pretend like it isn't compromised. If, for example, somebody snuck in, found some documents, and those documents not only told them what was happening now, but how we go about things. If they don't make it clear that they know, then they can have a useful insight to how we go about these matters until we change from the ground up how we do it. I'm also concerned with how much of an illusion U.S. power is. Yeah, we got a massive military budget, huge military budget. What did we just find out? Well, just like in Russia, exactly like in Russia, who was thought to be this big, strong military juggernaut, military bloat has led to corruption, and a lot of our vehicles and equipment it only existed on paper. And in fact, what had happened was somebody took payments from our giant, unregulated military budget, our out-of-control military budget, and didn't provide us the goods. How much of our national security was reliant on people thinking that behind the scenes we are doing better than we are? I'm concerned that people that have America's worst interests in mind will get a look at some of this and think, oh, we've been over-preparing. It could be very, very bad. Patrick Thibodeau, if DeSantis can get elected president in this country, I might build that house in Baja, Mexico I've been thinking about. He is even more thin-skinned than Trump and every bit as petulant. Yeah. Yes, he is. The anti-corporatists. Here's worse, Jake. In the name of fairness, the U.S. military plays the highest-rated news network on the bases. Guess which network that is. Yep. Yeah. I think we need to switch that. In fact, Fox News is not a news network. I just realized we should be petitioning to deal with this. Fox News, quite simply, cannot be taken as a news network anymore. Oh, mercy me. Oh, it was the damage report. Okay, thank you. Ooh, wireless mic. I'm going to do yours next. Everybody hold up. One sec. Let me get this going. Oh, I can't wait. This looks so good. The Magaverse. All right. Let's do this thing. I cannot wait to see how the reactions are going. Well, thank you to Wireless Mike for this suggestion. This is from the Lincoln Project, and they're discussing how the Magaverse is reacting to the Trump indictment. Here, I have not seen this, so let me just tell you what I'm looking for. I am looking for, your standard denials of reality. I'm looking for coping, but I'll tell you what I really want to see. I want to see them talking about just breaking early and talking about other candidates in this. Not even necessarily saying great things about other candidates, but just revealing what they're thinking by talking about DeSantis, Chris Christie, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, or the other. It's peace talks and be nice. The other folks that are running against Trump, because that will tell me that that's where their minds are. Let's see.
You have crossed the Rubicon twice, and we will never forgive you.
Exactly how many times can they frame Trump?
History will record today as the day that we cease to be a democratic republic.
We don't have a republic anymore.
This is the banana republic.
Joe Biden should be impeached.
Joe Biden mishandled classified documents much more severely than Donald Trump.
Joe Biden is the crookedest crook that's ever been in the Oval Office.
He's trying to take out his political opponents using the executive branch.
This is what Putin does. This is what Xi does.
This is an insurrection.
BleachBit, hammers, emails, Burisma, Hunter.
What did he do with the documents? Did he sell them to the enemy? No!
It's a second-tier double standard of justice in this country.
This is about whether the Constitution is still real in this country.
There's nothing in the Constitution that says he can't be president from inside prison. And then once he gets there, well, he can pardon himself.
Trump could run on pardoning himself.
Vote for the pardon. Vote for the pardon.
Yeah, the good old pocket pardon.
The hashtag, vote for the pardon.
This is about whether any American can expect the due process of law.
Think about the people whose lives have been ruined by this unending pursuit of Donald Trump.
To punch in the face, not just us, but Washington and Adams and Jefferson and Hamilton and everyone who came after. Lincoln, everyone who died on the field at Gettysburg to save this nation. That is who is being punched in the face right now.
President Trump is 76 years old.
Principal?
If the Department of Justice gets his way, he will die in federal prison.
I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
What an ending. We didn't get much of it. Didn't get much. Didn't get a talking about the other Republican candidates. Oh well, we did get them really, really angry at Biden, and we did get them talking about the election. Good. Yeah. That's about right. That was just a word salad from that one guy. Bleach, Hammer, Burisma, Hunter. Come on. Oh, my word. Great suggestion, Wireless Mike. First of all, thank you. Second of all, not a hell of a lot of folks saying, well, this case doesn't add up. I don't see how they're going to prove this. Not a lot of that, huh? Not really. I've seen him say that you shouldn't be going after Trump because Trump was a president. Because of this job he held. He can't be, this is an insult to Gettysburg? What? By the way, I surely do believe that person was real careful about not saying that the Confederates were the villains. Heads up, the Confederates were the villains. They were fighting to keep people in chains, and this isn't an insult. This is a matter of my political stance, and I am informing you of it. They ought to have been shot in the skulls with the musket balls that they were. Why? They were illegally imprisoning people. Now, to go to that chaotic part of the chaotic good, John Brown, baby. They should have been shot even when they were legally imprisoning people because the law that was on the books was unjust. Those Confederates. But I'll tell you, the laws we have on the books now regarding documents that the U.S. uses for its national security, for God's sake, those aren't exactly terribly controversial laws. In fact, those are laws we were all fine with. And people are only making a big deal about now if they supported Donald Trump through all sorts of craziness. And apparently feel the need to go down with the ship. In that supercut, what I saw was a bunch of people talking about how Trump's position as president, former president, I hasten to highlight, Trump's position as former president should, for some reason, mean that the law doesn't apply to him. I did not see them saying that he didn't break the law. I saw them advocating for a two-tier system of justice. A phrase which was on their lips constantly not long ago, and I'm sure will return because they can't help telling on themselves. I ask you, from whatever side of the aisle you're on, I ask you to examine the reasoning folks are using for what they say is right and wrong. And I'll tell you, a lot of folks think politics is complicated. It's not. I'll tell you how to make it simple for you. Look at the reasoning people are using. Ask yourself, does this apply to everyone? And in your heart, here's the key, in your heart, accept that these people are not special. They're not good. They're not paladins out there. I wake up every day and remind myself Joe Biden is some effing politician. Bernie Sanders, I think he's a good egg. If somebody offered him $1 billion to retire tomorrow, would he? Maybe. But if he did, I don't think he would come out and say, listen, look. They offered me $1 billion. I'm taking it. Good luck. No, he'd say, I'm old. I got health concerns. It's time to go. If politics seems vague and confusing to you, odds are somebody has put a lot of effort into making it seem that way. And the person who's doing that is probably doing that because what they are doing, if it was explained in simple terms, would not be something you approve of. And that is a person you should not vote for. Great suggestion, Wireless Mike. Mars Falcon, Trump world denies. When that fails, they downplay the crime. When that fails, they point to other people who did or didn't do other things, and what about? When that fails, they say what he did was okay. Yes. Yep. Rinse, repeat. 100% Mars Falcon. The anti-corporatist. Sorry, I'm on the phone with my wife. The worst sick person ever, and when she's not feeling well, she's the worst sick person ever, and when she's not feeling well, she wants to be on the phone with me 24/7. Aw, you're a good egg, anti-corporatist. You're a good egg. Whoopsie daisy. Yeah, Mars Falcon, Putin, Z, Burisma. Wireless Mike asking how we're supposed to take that seriously. I truly don't know. I don't know, man. Mars Falcon, tens of millions of people believe every word they are saying. Oh, and conservative ideology. Oh, that was an unfortunate scroll. There we go. Oh, and conservative ideologues were the anti-Americans killing Americans at Gettysburg. Yeah. That's exactly it, yes. Anti-corporatist. Okay, so what do we think? Can I become a white right-wing grifter? Can I become a white ring grifter? I like that. Get rich as fuck and then make a face turn and bring enough people back with me to make it a net benefit to mankind. No. And here's why. As much as I appreciate that strategy, and I'm not going to lie to you, I thought about it. Folks will not trust you. And I think the people that you would take with you would arrive with a feeling of betrayal that they would never be able to get over. But on the other hand, you might be able to do the grift in a Colbert-esque way, where at the end of every segment, the idea behind it tends to coincidentally result in left-leaning things. But if you want to genuinely take a crack at it, yeah, let's do a little workshopping, because I think creative ideas like that are not. I think they're worth exploring. Like they're not out of the question at this point. We should be seriously considering all the ways we can grab some of these 74 million folks and just bring them back to reality, even if they don't end up agreeing with us about what to do going forward based on the facts of reality. We still need them in reality. The anti-corporatist, haha, I love my wife, but, I don't particularly care to listen to her sleep. She, on the other hand, has had me fall asleep on the phone with her and listened for a few hours. Oh, that's the sweetest. She likes company. That's nice. That's very adorable. Ooh. Cortez Crimson, having read my diary, has provided us with a short clip They don't all have to be short, folks. Sometimes I like a nice long listen, in fact. But I also know that quick content is easier to upload. Whoop. Hit that. All right, let's do this. Let's do it. We got a quick one here. I'm going to do the recording, even though I said I would just record everything. But I am flighty. Got a suggestion from Cortez Crimson. This looks like my man. What the hell's his name? The fella that normally wears the suits. Oh well. Talking about what can be done about polluters. Good. I'm looking forward to this one. Let's just dive right in. It's a quick one.
Is important. Right now, power plants can emit unlimited carbon pollution, which accounts for a quarter of the world's pollution. Now, Biden's introduced a rule that would require power plants to cut carbon pollution by up to 90%. This is absolutely needed to save the planet, but it won't be easy. As of now, we're officially in the EPA's public comments period. So we need to come together and drown out the inevitable onslaught from the fossil fuel industry because, let's be clear, they will stop at nothing to protect their power and prevent this rule from taking effect. They've got all the money in the world. They'll try to convince Biden and EPA Administrator Michael Regan that no one will care about these rules. It is on us to push back as a movement, or the Democrats may very well cave. So let Joe Biden and let Michael Regan know that we're not only paying attention, but demanding the strongest possible version of these rules. So this is it. This may be our only chance for the foreseeable future. So please, please, please take a single minute out of your day and submit a comment by using the link right here on the screen or in the post description of this video. I promise you this matters and it will make a difference. Please trust me, this is important. Right now, power plants can emit unlimited carbon pollution.
I mean, beautiful. Beautiful. Shit, those are the kind of shorts I should be doing. All right, well, look. I am going to, in the VOD, copy that link, put it in the description. Cortez Crimson, thank you. This is exactly the sort of thing that we should do with great frequency. Let me expand just a little bit. Not only is it beneficial on the individual decisions, and this, by the way, if you live in New York, you know this is a big one. But it's not just useful for the individual decisions. This is an important one. But it's useful to build the habit. It's useful to get used to writing these folks, to make that part of your culture. When you find something that is weighing heavy on your soul, the way to get that weight off your shoulders is to do your bit to take care of it. And your bit, great news is, in a nation of 300 million folks, you don't have to do an awful lot. It's a representative democracy, so long as we keep, in my opinion, Trump and DeSantis et al. The hell out of office. Representative democracy, make them represent you. So yes, that link will be in the description of the VOD. And use it. Tell them. I know, it's wild that they have to be told that we want to live in a livable planet, but they do. Our representatives are not terribly bright most of the time, so make it clear that you care. Link in the description. Great suggestion. Ooh, boy. I get... Oh, is this Cornell West? It is. It is. Okay, Cornell West is an interesting guy. Patrick Thibodeau's got a suggestion for us here. We're going to dive into a long one, but it's going to be after we see a little of you guys. All right, you know what? Let me send you that link. You're right. I should I'll give you the link right now for that last video. Nope, up. 1 second. Oh. Description. Oh, it's an easy one too. All right, folks, here is the link our man Brian Tyler Cohen was talking about. Going in the top here. BTC link. Oh, there it is, baby. Wayne Turnbow. Yep, I just put the link in the comments, and it's in the description of the video if you refresh. And by the way, if you're enjoying the stream, if you like watching this awkward mug talk about politics, give me a like. Let me wet my beak a little bit. Mars Falcon, just... Sorry, I got an awkward thing. Let me find it again. There we go. Just 100 corporations are responsible for 70%, Jesus Christ, of all pollution. Systematic change required. Personal acts like recycling and trying to buy eco-friendly is good. Don't stop. But the system must change. That is it exactly. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The anti-corporatist. Did you see when Brian Tyler Cohen was on TYT? Jank was all, who the hell are you? Jovially. Can't wait. Dawned on me. I can't stand any of the candidates in the Republican primary. Me too, except I will say I'm glad that there are persuasive voices arguing for a return to reason. More, I guess the way to put it is a return to reasoned or reasonable harm. They are going to be a wedge between people that are okay just living purely in fantasy and the people who were okay living in fantasy but wanted it to seem like it was an actual political philosophy, in my opinion, and the opinion of those who measure outcomes of what these people are pitching. Wicked Foxy Dragon, and I had a chicken wing in one hand and was what? I had a chicken wing in one hand and was typing with my other when I typed Brian Tyler Chen out. Cut me some slack. I'm envious of the chicken wing. Oh, deep fried too. I'll tell you, man. Wayne Turnbow, no problem, brother. The meat I miss most is chicken, and I used to have chicken with a sweet and spicy barbecue sauce that I wake up some days in a cold sweat missing that delicious chicken. It was from Gus's in Howell, Michigan. Gus's, which became the Tomato Brothers. Same restaurant still, though. Mars Falcon. If I was forced at gunpoint to vote Republican, I'd vote Lincoln. Yeah, fair enough. Patrick Thibodeau, I love Cornel West, but the People's Party was a curious choice. The clip is Amy Goodman. Yeah, I really want to talk about Cornel West and his candidacy because y'all probably know my opinion by now. I'm actually all for people running in the primary against Biden. I'm also, in a way that might seem contradictory, so I want to get it out up front, I'm up for Biden not even giving them the time of day, not debating with them, not taking them seriously. Perhaps I should save this for when I'm recording. But the basics of it is, what is Biden going to say? This is all an audition for the job. It's an interview for the job. Well, Biden's doing the job right now. So he's just going to say, look at the results, decide for yourself. Fine. But I'm for the challenges because we shouldn't be afraid of having a challenge to the way things are done. That's if you are afraid of that, that's a good sign that you're not confident in it. It's for the same reason that I think world champion boxers should be forced to take on all comers within a reasonable amount of time. It's just, if you're the best, you're the best, and you don't have to worry. You don't need help being the best. So let's look at this, because I do like most of what Cornel West is all about. Let's see what's up. So Cornel West is running for president of the United States. This is from Patrick Thibodeau. Thank you very much, my friend. Vicky Pops says Marianne Williamson. Good God, why always put a T in there? Marianne Williamson has been doing amazing media tours and spitting facts. I believe, yeah. And I will tell you, it's going to be real hard for them to get me, even in a primary, to vote for somebody other than Biden. Despite the fact that I do not like Biden all that much. I do think he is the most useful person to be put in office for the plan I have. Not a plan I came up with. It's just the plan I'm adhering to, which is get a House, Senate, and White House that are Democrat-controlled, and then put pressure on these people to actually legislate on our behalf. Eliminate their excuses not to, and then tell them exactly what we want them to do. But I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear their critiques. I want to hear what it is they think Biden is not doing good enough. And I'll tell you, even if it turns out that these folks don't become the president, they might be laying out a game plan for what we should make Biden do in 2024. So let's have a look. This is a longer video with a new intro. We're doing another intro, but a short one. This is a clip from Patrick Thibodeau, who is suggesting we look at Cornel West announcing for president. Apologies to the live watchers. I didn't hit the record button. The long and short of it is, I am glad that, just the short of it, I'm glad that there are folks running against Biden. And I think, even though I'm likely to vote for Biden in the primaries, well as in the general, I think they might be laying out a case for what we can make, at the very least, what we can make Biden do in 2024. Let's jump right into it. Let's have a look.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Well, the 2024 presidential race is becoming more crowded. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and former Vice President Mike Pence have both joined the Republican race. Meanwhile, the philosophy professor and civil rights activist Cornel West has announced he's running for president as a candidate with the People's Party.
Usual disclaimer, this does not actually have anything to do with anything. I just want to say, anybody that looks like this, anybody that's bringing this kind of energy to the fight for justice in the United States of America is surely somebody who's got my attention. You're yelling into a microphone and you're wearing a suit? Ooh. Somebody that looks like an aging nerd? Ooh. Hello. So on aesthetics, he's got me, for sure. That said, I am, as they say, a lefty from way back, and aesthetics don't actually matter. I'm just having fun, because it's Friday Peace Talks.
In a short video released Monday, Dr. West criticized both the Democratic and Republican parties.
We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins. Because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech.
Wait 1 GD minute. First of all, yes, I saw those French cuffs, and yes, I do approve. But I don't approve so much that I'm going to let you get away with saying nobody's talking truth about Ukraine. Only thing he better have to say on that is that we need to end this quicker by arming them more. There is no acceptable reason for Russia to be sending soldiers in to Ukraine to kill Ukrainians. It is an invasion. It must be repelled. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Only buts I will accept is the kicking of Ruski ass. No, sir. There is somebody, as far as I've seen, telling the truth about Ukraine, and that would be the Democratic Party, led by Joe Biden. And hell, even Republicans. This is not a controversial issue. And if you think it is, it's because a Russian propagandist has gotten into your ear. Ask yourself why the hell anybody would say is acceptable for one country to invade and take over another. We were supposed to have left that in the 20th century, and our souls may be damned for permitting it in the 21st. It's the kind of thing that makes me hope there is such a thing as hell, so I will see Putin there so I can kick his ass personally. Real big red flag right off the bat.
U.S. announcement surprised many political observers. In 2008, he endorsed Barack Obama, but later became a vocal critic of the Obama-Biden administration. In 2016 and 2020, he backed Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primaries. Cornel West is now running as a member of the People's Party, which was founded by a former staffer of Sanders after the 2016 election as an alternative to the two-party system. This will be the first time the party has fielded a candidate for president. According to the New Republic, the People's Party has ballot access in barely a handful of states. Dr. West is one of the nation's most recognized public intellectuals. He's a professor of philosophy and Christian practice at Union Theological Seminary. He formerly taught at Princeton and Harvard universities. He's joining us now from Irvine, California. Cornel West, welcome back to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us. Can you talk about why you've decided to run for president of the United States?
First, Sister Amy, I want to salute you. You are an exemplar of longevity, of integrity, and consistency. And, you know, we go back many, many decades. So I just want to always begin on that note. You're putting a smile on Brother George and Sister Dorothy's face, your precious parents. But no, my announcement of running for President of the United States to be head of the empire to help dismantle it in such a way that poor and working people would be at the very center, at the very core of our vision of what a good society actually is. It has to do, as you can imagine, with these very bleak times, these very desperate times. So it's a kind of act of desperation. You know, I'm 70 years old. I've been at this for 55 years, and I have a calling that flows out of the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel and Edward Said and Chief Joseph and Dorothy Day and Grace Lee Boggs and Louisa Marino. All of those are the best of America. And I think we're at such a low point that America needs to be reintroduced to its best. And its best has always been the movements for justice, the struggles for freedom, the solidarity based on a fundamental commitment to the dignity of those Sly Stone calls everyday people. And there's no doubt in my mind that the two-party system now is a major impediment for the empowerment of poor and working people. I'm thoroughly convinced that, of course, the neo-fascist Republican Party has already made it very clear that they're tied to big business and big military, big tech.
Yes, and so are the Democrats, which I think he's getting to. Just want to jump in myself and say that. And I also want to tell you, folks, if you think that was an insult, it's not. Neo-fascist, that is an accurate way to describe the current Republican Party. Another way to put fascist would be to say using demagoguery to ignore democratic values. In other words, scaring people to try to get them to give up their own rights. That's what we had. That's what we had with George W. Bush as well. It was just we all, most of us at least, willingly gave in. We just said, yes, we're scared. We don't want another 9/11. Please, please, have ICE be a thing. Please have the right to look into all of our phones secretly. Patriot Act. Yes, please give our police tanks. We have states right now that are trying to make it illegal to go to other states and do things that are legal in those states. In other words, if you are a resident of Florida, you're supposed to be considered a citizen of Florida more than a citizen of the United States, and you are subject to Florida laws no matter where you roam. That is neo-fascism.
And so forth. And the milquetoast neoliberal Democratic Party strikes me as being incapable of taking seriously the fundamental needs of poor and working people, not just here, but around the world. The militarism abroad, $7 billion frozen for the brothers and sisters in Afghanistan, and what's been AFRICOM in Africa, and what's been going on in the Middle East. Thank God that you keep track of the precious Palestinian brothers and sisters and all the hell that they're catching. You have it every day, and I thank God that you do. Why? Because Palestinian peoples deserve to have a visibility in terms of their suffering and ways in which they can attempt to get out from under. Same would be true, of course, for our Jewish brothers and sisters in Russia or in a France where their rights are being violated. We're wrestling with organized greed. We're wrestling with institutionalized hatred. We saw that with our precious gay brothers and lesbian sisters and queer siblings in the earlier report. But it's also a matter of routinized indifference. There's an indifference to the plight of the vulnerable. More and more, it's becoming not just a fad and a fashion, it's becoming a normalized way of life. And that is what leads toward wholesale fascism, not just here, but in other parts of the world. And we've seen it, of course, in Hungary. You see it. We saw it in Brazil. We can go on and on in this regard. So for me, it's really a matter of trying to be consistent with what I've been about for the last 55 years.
Cornel, you talk about militarism. I want to ask you about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In March of last year, you told The New Yorker, we must try to stop the war, recognizing that the American empire has little or no moral authority when it comes to violation of international law and the overthrow of national sovereignty, as in Latin America, the Middle East, and Asia. You've also called Putin, you've been
No. We must stop the war, recognizing that the American empire has little or no moral authority when it comes to violation of international law and the overthrow of national sovereignty. Boil that down to simple, like recognizable everyday actions. Imagine we are thieves and we burglars, and we break into homes, and we have a history of breaking into homes, and we say, we're not going to do it anymore. We're not going to break into people's homes and steal things. And we look across the street, and we see a person with a stereotypical ski mask And, let's just say with a bloody knife as well. And they throw a rock through a window, and they unlatch the window, and they pull it up, and they climb into the home. And we pick up the phone, we start dialing, and our roommate, a fellow burglar, turns to us and says, "Stop. We don't have the moral authority. We don't have the moral authority when it comes to a violation of other people's property rights." And then we put the phone down and we nod our head solemnly. That's right. We don't have the moral authority. That's asinine. That is a exceedingly ridiculous idea. He should be embarrassed that he said those words in an interview with the New Yorker. What does he mean, stop the war? We must stop the war. War can stop tomorrow if Russia decides to leave. We are not supporting the invaders. This is the kind of language that made sense in Iraq, where we were the invaders. It made sense in the Middle East, sure. It made sense when we were funding the Contras. Yeah. When we were funding the aggressors, or when we were the aggressors ourselves, it made sense for us to say, we must stop the war. It breaks my heart to see people on the left take a stance that war is bad, so we must let people who are getting attacked give up. We must encourage them to simply put their throats on Russian bayonets and shove forward, because we believe in peace. Asinine. Right there. Right there. It's even if he misspoke, the idea that you would be so irresponsible as to accidentally say what it appears he's saying there disqualifies him for further consideration. I would like to hear his opinions on things simply for the value in criticizing the Biden administration. But I'll tell you, if this was if this was me viewing something purely as a voter, trying to decide who I should vote for, that would be the end of it. You don't need to exhaust yourself by also weighing what the rest of what they have to say is. That right there, done. It shows a lack of understanding about what is happening that is so severe that you need not consider any further, in my humble opinion. That said, Cornel West is a very educated man, and his criticisms of Biden are something I'm going to want to see and perhaps adopt. So let's keep looking. But I'll tell you, your old pal Jake, not going to be supporting the Cornel West candidacy in any way, shape, or form, based off of his suggestion that we stop the war, apparently, because we used to be Russia. So the thing to do now is to let Russia kill Ukrainian people.
You've also called Putin. You've been severely critical of President Putin for the invasion. Talk about your views on what happened, what is happening, and how the war needs to end.
Well, one, I think you have the clash of two empires. The Russian Empire is a deeply wounded empire. It's had its territory cut back. Of course, its economy is shrinking. And then you've got the American Empire, which is the most powerful empire in the history of the world. In fact, it was the 68th empire out of the 70, going back to the beginning of the human species. And so on the one hand, you have the promise of the American Empire to the elites in the Russian Empire: we will not move an inch. And within decades, 14 of the satellite countries of the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, are part of NATO. There's missiles right on the borders and boundaries of the Russian Empire. Now, we know empires behave like empires. I mean, if there's missiles in Canada and Mexico, the U.S. government would blow them to smithereens quick. We saw it in Cuba in 1962. So that empires behave like empires. They're greedy. They're driven by predatory capitalist dispositions. They're obsessed with hierarchy. They're concerned with domination and conquest. The Alexander the Great, associated with a grand empire. So that in that regard, there's no doubt in my mind that the expansion of NATO has played a crucial role in the wounded Russian Empire with all of
2 points. Number one, Ukraine was not and is not part of NATO. They absolutely will be after they finish beating the Jim Christ out of Russia. Point number two, just like it was not for us to decide what other, it's not for us to decide that other countries must join NATO. It's also not for us to decide if other countries don't have to join NATO. If Canada asked for those missiles to be put in Canada, I don't care what we would have done, we wouldn't have the right to say they can't. Why? Because Canada is not the United States. Canada can do as it pleases with Canadian territory. Similarly, Ukraine is not Russia. If Ukraine wants to join NATO, let me check what percentage of it is Russia's business. Let me just do the calculations here. Goose egg, that's a big fat 0. It is not their business. And it is certainly not for Russia to invade Ukraine. John Bailey saying hello from California. Hello, my friend. Dump Cornell, he says. Oh, good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, I think Cornell West is just straight up wrong here. You know that, so let's get through this. I hesitate to skip forward. We might, though. What I really want to hear from him is his critiques of the Biden administration when it comes to domestic affairs, in particular when it comes to working with big business. Biden's hung his hat on fixing the climate problem, and he has not been satisfactory to me. I don't think he has done such a bad job that I can't see myself voting for him. Not so, because I believe he is swayable. But the way in which he must be swayed, I think, will likely be laid out by Cornell West right here. So let's look. Whoopsie daisy.
of its repression, all of its regimentation. Let us never forget about the thousands of Russian brothers and sisters who are going to jail in opposition to gangster Putin's criminal invasion.
Good for them.
But he's pushed against the wall and he responds. That's how heads of empire respond. So we've got to be in solidarity with the suffering of Ukrainian brothers and sisters, but we have to recognize NATO is an instrument of American imperial foreign policy. We've seen it over and over again, and so we're witnessing a proxy war. There must be a ceasefire. There must be a stopping of that war. Why? We're on the road to nuclear war. That's the last thing we want to see, my dear sister.
Oh, and as president, what exactly would you do to stop that war?
Oh, one is I would pull back on the U.S. military support. I would sit down with the elites from the Chinese empire, given all of their forms of regimentation and repression in their own context. Think about our precious Muslim brothers and sisters in China, the Uyghurs. But I would sit down with the Chinese, I would sit down with the Ukrainians, I would sit down with the Russians, and say, we're going to stop this war, and we're going to come up with a a plan, a process with a variety of voices heard to make sure that the suffering stops and we understand and we're honest about the larger context of the war. And unfortunately, we just don't get this kind of perspective, in corporate media.
All right, I am going to just fast forward through the rest of the Ukraine stuff. I have to respond to that, though. What is Russia going to need in this negotiate? What is there to negotiate? Here is the only acceptable outcome. And goddamn, every leader we've had that has failed, including, brace yourselves, including Obama. The only acceptable outcome is Russia gets the F out of a country it's invading, including Crimea. That's the only acceptable outcome. Now, apparently, in order to do that, they need to be shot because they're sending troops with guns to kill people and forcibly take over land. Is it sad that that's happening? Yes. Is it the fault of Ukraine? Absolutely not. Ridiculous. Hopefully. Let's see.
That you never lose hope in having solidarity with oppressed people around the world. And of course, the third element is improvisation. And improvisation is about what? Well, it's not just an artistic skill. The Ron Carter's geniuses like that still alive remind us. It's also a form of practical wisdom. As freedom fighters, we got to be improvisational. We got to be flexible. We got to be fluid. We got to be protean. We got to learn how to listen. We can't be dogmatic. We can't be ossified. We can't be petrified in how we look at the world. And right now, we...
Okay. If you can't tell what somebody's talking about partway through it, it's a bad sign. This is just general politics. I do think Cornel West overall very useful voice, but I mean, as a sign, should he be the leader? If I can't tell about the nuts and bolts of what he's talking about, he's saying we've got to be protean. I don't think that was meant for the average person to hear what he's saying and understand what he's saying. And if he's not trying to say things that the average person, of which I am an example, whether you like it or not, if they can't understand what you're saying and you know it, and he ought to know it, then I question the honesty here.
Have to have presidential debate, and
16. You were a surrogate for Bernie Sanders. In fact, in 2016, he chose you as one of the people to write the Democratic Party platform. Have you talked to him about your campaign, you deciding to go outside the two-party system? He ran although he is an independent and a socialist, he ran inside the Democratic Party. And has he given you advice?
No, I haven't talked to Bernie recently. We just did a wonderful event based on his wonderful book with Brother John Nichols there in Brooklyn Academy of Music. We had a wonderful time, Sister Jane and my beloved wife, Anahita. We had a wonderful time with him. And Bernie will always be my brother. I've got a forever love for that brother. We just have disagreements. I don't think he would be surprised, though, because I, of course, supported the Greens. Sister Jill Stein, after I supported him, just like I'd go back to the great Ralph Nader. And a lot of people try to view those two as spoilers. They're not spoilers at all. You had mediocre neoliberal candidates who could not galvanize the public, so you don't blame it on the weaker parties. And we will never actually be able to deal with the escalating fascism in America with milquetoast neoliberalism. You just end up with caretaker government. You end up with postponing the collapse of democracy, as my dear brother Jeff Stout says. Well, you have to get at the roots of fascism, which means I'm going to Trump country, Sister Amy. I'm going to talk to those white brothers and talk to those white sisters and say, quit scapegoating the most vulnerable. Let us confront the most powerful. I don't have a minute for any kind of xenophobia, but at the same time, I know you're catching hell. I know many of you have been losers in corporate globalization.
Excellent.
You've been pushed against the wall by big monopolies and oligopolies. You have difficulty trying to engage in any kind of unionization. You have to transform and transpose and filter your fears through different means rather than following a neo-fascist Pied Piper. We got to be able to speak to these folk directly and as fellow citizens, and I plan to do that. Now, of course.
Okay, so let me give some closing thoughts here. First of all, great suggestion. Love the clip. Love it. I wanted to hear what Cornel West was going to be all about. I was disappointed that with our usual third-party lefties, we have the same thing happening. Vagueness. Not talking about how he's going to talk with people. Not talking about what he's going to do so much. And that's true for the American voters that he was discussing right there. That's also true for when he was talking about Ukraine. What are you going to try to accomplish? I'm going to sit them down and talk. Okay? When we're sitting down with them and talking, what are you going to be talking about? We are going to come to an understanding. You don't have an answer. I see. Rather, the answer, because Cornel West is nobody's fool, the answer is ugly. The answer is going to be, we're going to carve up Ukraine. We're going to carve up Ukraine. So his answer there makes me cast doubt on his answer when he says he's talking about how the unions are not being supported. He's talking about the woes of the GOP voters right now, the MAGA folks. I think he's right. I think he's right. We do have to reach out to them. Not because we need them to win. I'll be honest with you, we don't. And with their current political stances, I think we have an obligation to steamroll them. We can't take in the opinions of folks that are saying, well, we need to figure out which Americans, we're going to genocide. No. The answer there is just like the answer is with Russia and Ukraine. Zero. None. It's not an acceptable thing to negotiate over. We do not negotiate over whether or not Americans have a right to exist. But we still have to talk to these people because they need help. They are all Candace Owens. They are all Dave Rubin. They are all everybody who is supporting these it's so hard for me not to say the word devils because it's Friday Peace Talks. I apologize. That was a weak way of me saying devils. These people who are selling us out, everybody who is supporting them is betraying themselves. We have to talk with them because they are hurting. They're hurting, by and large, less than other groups, but they're still being hurt by the same things. And we need to convince them that the end of their suffering will come quicker. Relief for their suffering will come quicker. They will prosper. The beginning of when they prosper will come quicker if they work with us. We should do that. But we should be talking about the practical nuts and bolts right away, immediately following the acknowledgement that they are suffering. So we acknowledge that they're suffering, and then we say what we're going to do about it. What are we going to do about it? Stronger support for unions. No more will we be siding with the Norfolk Southern Company over the unions. Federal laws being enforced. Federal laws being written that make unions mandatory. for some businesses, for certain sized businesses, let us say. Nationalizing, let's say, the rails. Nationalizing things that the whole nation relies upon. I'm up for nationalizing internet service. I'm up for nationalizing healthcare. I'm up for nationalizing the trains. I'm up for nationalizing, basic food needs. Having a grocery store, which is government run. I'm up for nationalizing the production of medicine. All those chemicals that save lives that no longer have active patents on them. There's no reason the U.S. shouldn't be making them, and therefore making them cheaper for all U.S. citizens. I think Cornel West is an interesting cat. I think we will have to keep watching him from time to time. But as a presidential candidate, I think he is not being very serious. And I think he knows it. I think he is doing a messaging campaign with no intention of actually getting the office. And so, until I see otherwise, I'm going to treat it like that. Disappointing about Ukraine. Disappointed that he wasn't talking nuts and bolts quite so much. But was pleased to see that he acknowledges that some of the people displaying the worst behavior right now are doing so for reasons which are sad and understandable, and things we can fix. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Patrick Thibodeau, I am not religious, but I respect people who actually walk the walk. Jimmy Carter, Cornel West, my grandma, that's all I can come up with. Fair enough. The anti-corporatists, let's see here. Sometimes I fantasize and say, okay, how about I spot you murdering all of the LGBTQ and Jews and Browns and blacks? Can we go after the corporate overlords who make our lives hell then? Then let's do that. Oh, I scrolled wrong. Hold up. Then let's do that in reverse. That's so good. I like that. First, we eat the rich, and then we see if you're still mad at all those minorities once you got money in your pocket. Once you got a boss who isn't allowed to pull you away from your spouse's giving birth because you don't have any more sick days. Oh, God, so good. Ooh. All right, I'm having a dickens of a time reading chat. I do apologize. I got the last message up on here. I'm not going to wiggle the mouse anymore. I watch, this is from Mars Falcon and Cortez Crimson. I'm interested in the context of what you have to say, because what I can see can be next year's heavily armed enemy, and I'm very curious. But I'll read that in the replay. Mars Falcon, I watch everything West does whenever he sits down and has discussions with others. Especially right-wing folks. He is consistent in his messaging, and I respect him. The People's Party thing is sus. Yeah, I don't think he's up to no good here. I think he is not. I think he'd love to be president. I think if he were the president, he would genuinely do the things he's saying. Absolutely. But I don't think he is operating under the impression that he will be elected president, and therefore the point of his campaign, because he is also a practical person, the point of his campaign is to do something else, and that is a messaging campaign. And hey, good news is broadly it's to push folks to the left, and in the United States I think we need that right now. So good for him. Hopefully he's successful in that endeavor. And more power to him and to Marianne Williamson and anybody else that has something to say about the way things are run currently. I think we really do need to shake up leadership. in the U.S., particularly in the Democratic Party. But I also think that when we have a president who is in his last 4 years, that is when they're not concerned about re-election, and you have to worry, are they more concerned about legacy or wallets? And Joe Biden has made it pretty clear that he's more concerned about legacy, and that's great news for us, because that means he will respond to protests. He doesn't want to be embarrassed by a bunch of lefties saying you're not left enough. And if we and not a barely, where Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema then have to be begged to, but we give him an overwhelming House, Senate, and White House, I think it's going to be easy as pie to get this guy to do exactly what we want. Looking good, folks. And I got to tell you, it's been just the best week. Tomorrow is Salty Saturday, wherein we don't worry about being productive. We just enjoy being a little bit salty. And I'll tell you, we have got so much to talk about. Oh, it's going to be a fun one. A little preview, we've got the entire indictment, all the juicy stuff from it. Going to pluck that out and talk about it. We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene embarrassing herself. We've got MAGA folks left and right getting caught doing illegal stuff. We have more people up to diddling. And of course, we're gonna play that Boebert clip again and have a hearty chuckle as she rushes up the stairs to try to get to that vote which she missed. Can't wait for it. Can't wait to see you there. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake. I'll see you next time.